Welcome back to the videogames.lu podcast. Today I am joined by the usual suspects.
Okay.
Sulfura, Rod, and the boy
Yo.
actor Rose.
Yay, Rock.
Hi
The
guys.
And
age is silent.
not for the French people, but and me, Alex Sane, your boy. Back from kind of a small hiatus again, but we had some
Some events going on.
you take priority, right?
True
But
that.
today's topic, we wanted to talk a little bit about the franchise and fighting game franchise, of course. And we thought to ourselves, okay, how about we start with the grandfather of all fighting games, Street Fighter franchise. I mean, everybody and their mama know, even if they don't play. Street Fighter, I think, is the most famous, alongside Mortal Kombat, I would say, most famous fighting game. And yeah, we want to talk a little bit about the different games, why we love them, why we hate some. Maybe not
There's gonna be some beef.
not quite hate, but I mean, there's always, if you have a favorite, you also have a least favorite, right?
Exactly. Not every game is perfect, and I guess some games are like there's like some sort of rant that we have to get out of.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
some games gives us the salt, you know. But yeah, so I wanted to start with discussing a bit about what makes Street Fighter. Also for you personally, what is Street Fighter for you? What do you associate it with?
It's like you said earlier. It's the grandfather of all fighting games. Of all fighting
Fighting games.
Fighting games. It's the grandfather of all fighting games, and it's. I think that most of us can say. I don't know. I will ask you then. We all started with Street Fighter.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I know for us, Alexei and Rod, so Alexei and me, it was our first fighting game that we played. It was on the Super Nintendo,
Good times.
and it's the first time we played a fighting game. But what about Sulfura? Did you play Street Fighter 2 back in the day?
Yeah, but it was not because of me. So my grandparents wanted to. Well, I wanted a Super Nintendo, but we went out to buy it, and you had the pick of the bundles, and one of them was the Mario collection, like Mario 1, 2, and 3, and the Lost Levels, and the other was Street Fighter 2, and I wanted the Mario package, actually. But but my grandparents were like, no, this one is more popular. We will go with this one.
Oh wow!
So that's how I got Street Fighter 2.
How did your grandparents know that Street Fighter is more popular?
Because the seller told them.
Oh.
Okay.
So yeah, the seller was in the know.
So they completely ignored your personal preference, and they went for the seller's preference. Okay.
Yes.
Damn, hard
so that's how I got. That's how I got Street Fighter 2, and that's what I started playing. I played mostly against the CPU though. We had one neighbor who was into Street Fighter, but I think he never told me the tax, and he kept winning.
Oh yeah.
So
that's actually what happens with our big brother. He knew some because our big brother also played Street Fighter 2, and he knew how to do Sonic Booms. And we were like, oh, "How you do that?" Big brother was like, "I won't tell you."
Oh damn!
And we were playing. I know Alexei was playing Ken, and I was playing a mix of Ryu and Blanca. And I only did the mashing move with Blanca, where he electrocuted.
Electricity.
And that's the only move I knew, you know.
Yeah, and and because I just played against the CPU, like the first time I played in the local, That's why you see me do jump in, heavy kick, a sweep, because that's the thing that the CPU used all the time. So that's the thing I copied from the CPU.
I mean,
Yo.
it's one of the best combos in the game. Jump heavy, sweep.
Random stun, and if you get lucky, you got it. You got the stun.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's my That's how I started Street Fighter, basically.
Mm. Good times. A lot of salt.
How about you, Actorus? How did you start?
Yeah, me was like also same thing. I think I had like back then. I think Street Fighter 2 was already out, and then they had like this bundle of the Super Nintendo with the Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So that was actually my first Super Nintendo game, I think.
Oh.
And yeah, it started actually that love for fighting games. And I remember back then I was reading the manual, to learn about the moves, and it was like complete mystery because back then we were never used to, doing like quarter circle forward and punch or something, for moves. So I think back then when I was like learning the moves, it was like this huge revelation. I was like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be played, and I was like very happy because of it. But I remember the Super Nintendo controller being like so, how to say it, like the D-pad was like so rough for my fingers. I was like hurting my thumbs just to get the moves out. I remember back then I had to make like a short break of playing because it was hurting so much. But yeah, I mean,
that controller was ruthless.
yeah, exactly. I think that's why maybe today, even though we have like so good joysticks on controllers, even though we have that, I still play on my arcade stick, because just out of comfort.
I don't want my fingers to hurt.
Yeah, those were rough, really rough. Yeah,
it's a nice thing to say about Street Fighter 2, I think, because it was it wasn't the first one. Because I have a question for afterwards, but we weren't used to do like quarter circles forward and quarter circle backs or like charge moves, DP motions. For a lot of us, it was the first time that we could do motions, and after doing motions, we see a fireball or a dragon punch. So it was really nice experience. That's true. But now I have a question for you.
What is
who actually played Street Fighter 1?
I mean, the game exists, but I just learned from its existence like 6 years ago, something like that. I really didn't know that something like that existed. Really, it really went out of my radar.
Well, if it weren't for me researching Street Fighter, I would have thought Street Fighter 2 was the first one.
Which is odd because why did they start with 2?
Yeah. Like the title is just Street Fighter 2, and the subtitle is like the actual version. So like, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Turbo is like Street Fighter 2 or something like that. Like the two is just part of the name, because they did come up with a lot of versions.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that was a really Capcom thing to do. Like, here's Street Fighter 2, here's Hyper Street Fighter 2, here's Street Fighter 2 Turbo, here's Street Fighter 2
Champion Edition,
Golden, Silver, Bronze Edition.
Yeah, but
I don't know
Street Fighter
what
1,
edition.
Street Fighter 1 didn't got any of that.
No,
it just was there and it was very hard. So the motions were the same, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, for Street Fighter 1, it was you had an Hadouken, because I think Ryu and Ken were the only playable characters, and I think you couldn't play against your a human opponent. It was only against the CPU, I think. And you had Hadoukens and Shoryukens. That's for sure. I think you had Tatsuakse Bukyaks, so the Hurricane kicks, but I don't know actually.
I think I even don't know if you can play with another character except Ryu. I thought like Ryu was in Street Fighter 1 the only character you could play.
Player 2. Player 2 plays Ken.
Oh, player 2 plays Ken. Okay, I see. Because yeah, like you said, I mean, I also back then I was like wondering why the Street Fighter 2, where's Street Fighter 1, but never saw it anywhere. So my childish brain didn't ask too many questions. I was like enjoying Street Fighter 2 at that time. But then I got to. I think I never played it. I just saw it like on like people trying it out and reviewing and stuff. It was very funny, and I think because of the style, because I saw how the game plays, I never tried it. I think the fireballs, they took like 50% damage back then. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
okay.
it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And the last
Yep.
boss was actually Sagat.
Yeah.
There was no
Oh,
bison.
okay, yeah, true.
So that was the last boss.
Just remember
Oh.
his quote, and he actually talked in English. Said something like "Try again, kid."
I think
No.
everyone said that.
Ah, okay, there was just one quote.
When you lost, they were like, "Try again, kid."
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember something like that, but I thought only Sagat was saying that.
Sorry,
Yeah, so
sorry.
Street Fighter 1 is kind of like like the black sheep of the of the franchise. Nobody's talking about. I mean, we kind of give it.
Well, if you
Yeah.
consider what existed before, Street Fighter was like revolutionary in its own way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like how people say Citizen Kane is a great movie, but it was great for the time. But nowadays, a lot of things that movie does, every movie does in a way. So it's like Street Fighter had the big ass sprites and it had a story, and the controls even were new, but though that didn't last long.
Yeah.
So they did a few things right, because and especially the big sprites, that was a big thing.
Yeah, because back then, like every game wanted to be Street Fighter, so that's why you had like so many different variations of games who tried to be like Street Fighter.
There are some
There was,
bad
like-
ones, but there was also some good ones that came afterwards, like Karnov's Revenge and Breakers is also kind of a copy.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
And
Definitely is.
then of course, yeah, but those were ex-Capcom employees, right? That went on and made Fatal Fury or Art of Fighting. I can't.
Out of Fighting, it's I know Out of Fighting, that's for sure. It was ex-Capcom employees. Yeah, you see the influence in the genre.
But this is kind of after 2, right? Not after 1.
No, after 2, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the biggest one with the biggest impact in fighting game community. Yeah, right.
If Street Fighter 1 was the indie revolutionary title, Street Fighter 2 was the mainstream one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's move on to Street Fighter 2. I mean, we talked a little bit because it was our first experience with Street Fighter. But yeah, I mean, it was revolutionary. Everybody was playing it. Everybody who had Super Nintendo had Street Fighter in a way. And yeah, there are also those many versions with supers and all. But we only had Rod, if I remember correctly, we only had the regular one, Street Fighter 2, and that's it.
We had the original one. I was.
We had no supers. We had no Kami.
No. We only had the 8 World Warriors.
Good game.
Come again?
You were lagging.
Sounds like a good game.
It was a good game.
No Cammy. Hey.
No Cammy. But there was also no Vega. But you could play against 4 Heavenly Kings, Balrog, Vega, Sagat, and Bison, but you couldn't play. You couldn't pick those.
Yeah, Cammy came out with the super version, I think, right?
Or with the turbo version. I can't remember.
No turbo, no. Because I had turbo.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think Turbo had only like the boss characters back then. It was like Vega, Balrog, and Bison, and Sagat.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but really, I have no clue with the versions. I mean, I hear them a lot in the FGC, like Hyper Fighter, Super Turbo, but I really have no clue. What did they bring to the table? I know with one version, supers came along. But yeah, it's just.
Oh, by the way,
a bit
just
confusing.
Yeah. Okay. Just pointing out, they did release like recently a last version of Street Fighter 2 on the Switch. I think.
Yeah.
Ultra Street Fighter 2, like I didn't know they would like still trying to release that kind of thing. I'm still wondering why they released it on Switch. Is it
Oh, man.
exclusive now?
It's
Is
it's
it-
exclusive on Switch if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yes.
You don't have it. It's the same, kind of the same version like the PS3 one, the Street Fighter. How was it
HD
called?
remix.
HD
exactly.
remix, yeah. It's the same sprites and yeah, but the Switch version had complete version,
Yeah,
definitive version, something like that,
It-
with Violent Ken,
exactly.
which is an SNK character. Violent
Yeah.
Ken
They-
is an SNK character because the first appearance of Violent Ken is in SNK vs Capcom.
I'm wondering if they do have the rights to do that. Like if
It's Ken.
Violent Ken. Yeah, it's Ken. Yeah, true. But still, I mean, it's like a variation of Ken, which probably I mean, come on. But still, it was funny. It was funny that they would release like an SNK character in a Street Fighter game. Like I think it's the only time you can see Violent Ken in the Capcom game, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know if after SVC there was a Violent Ken,
No, I don't think so.
but I don't think so because it's always Ryu's thing to be evil Ryu and consumed by the Satsui no Hado. Ken doesn't.
I think some version of Street Fighter 2 had Violent Ken too.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know because DSP has been raging about him
Oh,
while he was playing some Street Fighter 2 variation, but I don't know which one it was exactly.
But maybe he was playing the Switch one because.
Or maybe it was
No, that wasn't that one.
Street Fighter 2 Rainbow Edition.
oh my God!
Yeah, or
The nutty one.
like a Mugen one.
Could also be.
But yeah, all in all, fun memories with Street Fighter 2. But actually, not one of my favorites, I must say.
Actually, one of my least favorites.
Yeah, we'll go on that afterwards. But yeah, what I really liked about Street Fighter 2 was you have never seen something like that before, right? It was one of the first. You never saw the genre evolving like it evolved after Street Fighter 2, because fighting games were more like beat 'em ups like Final Fight and Kung Fu. So you just there wasn't this one-on-one special moves and even combos, which was a bug in Street Fighter 2. So yeah, it's just revolutionary, right?
So the bug became a feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So honestly, I mean, for some people it's like an evolution. For me, actually, Street Fighter 2 was like, I always considered Street Fighter 2 like the birth of fighting games. You know, because back then, I mean, I never played any other fighting game besides that. So, and every other fighting game that I
Fighting
saw
games.
that came
Yeah.
before Street Fighter 2 was like, for me, like very weird. I mean, yeah, like very old fashioned kind of games, like very realistic.
And I think also Street Fighter 2 introduced us to characters that had some sort of personality. Also design-wise, they were different.
A bit stereotypical though, but
A bit stereotypical, yeah. But you had Guile with his hairdo. You had Dalsim. You had the sumo wrestler Honda. You know, it was really very diverse, and also it was also reflected in their moves. So yeah, that was something that other fighting games before that didn't have. Even Street Fighter 1 was like you had Ryu and Ken, which are practically the same, just a bit different on the design, but not as different as as the 8 World Warriors. So yeah, that's we could say that's really the birth of fighting games as we know it. Yeah, but moving on, I think we talked enough about Street Fighter 2, and we could go for many minutes more. But I wanted to talk about the next iteration, I would say, which is the Alpha series. Now, I don't know if you all are familiar with the Alpha series. I mean, you at least have heard about that, but this
I know
actually
of it.
of it, yeah. Well, we played a bit in on Fightgate, Alpha 3 sometimes, but yeah, it's not like you were invested. But me also, I kind of like at the time where Alpha was a thing, it kind of went over my radar, but I wasn't really looking for fighting games at that time when I was that young. I mean, I always played Tekken and Soul Blade, Soul Calibur, something like that, but I kind of missed the 2D games, and I don't know why. It just wasn't in the store, so I didn't buy it. I was also not allowed to buy many games, so I had to choose. So if I had to choose between a 2D game and Tekken or Soul Calibur, so Soul Blade, I choose those because I knew of them, because I also had the demos with Tekken 3 and Soul Blade. So yeah, I didn't play it when it was out, but many years after, I got the Street Fighter Alpha Anthology for PS2,
Yeah.
and I sort of rediscovered the Alpha series with that game. And what I really like about this game, first of all, the art style. I like
It's
it.
Yeah,
more
it's the first game that went with a more anime art style.
Yeah, that's true.
It's more like anime. It's more like cartoony, you know. And I like the pace of the game. It's very fast, and I like the sound. The game, how it sounds. You know, when you hit that heavy, you hear, you know.
Yeah.
I like that. And then of course the colorful cast. I mean, you had very new characters. I mean, you had like Adon, Rose, of course, best girl, and yeah, some Charlie or Nash. How is he called now? Charlie
I mean, in
Nash.
Japan, in Japan he's called Nash, and in the Western he's called Charlie.
They changed that with Street Fighter 5. I think they his full name is now Charlie Nash.
Yeah, they just combined it.
And just combined two. Yeah, and I was kind of. It was kind of interesting that they kind of rebooted the story, because it's a prequel of Street Fighter 2. That's why it's called Street Fighter Zero in Japan. And yeah, gameplay wise, but you had those three. You had three versions, like Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3. Alpha 3 and Alpha 2 are like completely different from one another. Alpha 1 is kind of the black sheep of the series.
It's like Street Fighter 1.
But Alpha 2, I mean, I love Alpha 2. Really.
I mean that add-on theme.
Yeah, the themes are really well,
Greatest.
it's the golden years of Capcom, you know, the like the Marvel,
Yeah, Dark
the Versus series soundtracks, the Rival School soundtracks, you know, that I don't know, that trumpet,
the Golden Age.
that trumpet thing, you know, they had that going on in the soundtracks. So yeah, I mean, what I really like about Alpha, it's also because the Alpha 2 is very grounded. Very Street Fighter like. You have your meter, you can use it, like if you do your super with the light motion, you only use 1 bar. You had 3 bars at your disposal. If you do it with the heavy, you lost all your 3 bars, and you had custom combos, right? It was ready in Alpha 2.
Yeah, you could activate those. I think you could sacrifice your whole bar, and then just to custom combos. It's like you just press buttons and it would combo. And it was really nice.
You could also do special into special, like.
You could do special into special. You could like just combo with 8 Hadokens, and it would combo. So that was a nice touch.
Yes.
And what I also liked was the defensive mechanic of the alpha counters,
Which are better V reversals.
which are way better reversals, I would say. So that was like kind of the blowback from King of Fighters. But I really liked it because it gave the Street Fighter formula that we know from Street Fighter 2 more depth. because you had more defensive mechanic and also offensive mechanic, like the custom combos. And that's why, in my opinion, Street Fighter Alpha 2 was one of my favorites, I have to say.
Hmm.
Even though in Alpha 2 there's no Vega. There's no Vega, and I still love Alpha 2 because I'm biased as shit.
So what? So you want to tell me that Vega didn't appear in any other Street Fighter game except like the what was it, like Street Fighter 4 or something?
No,
No.
he was in Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Alpha 3. Okay, I see.
In Alpha 3, extended more of the roster, so you had characters coming back. You had Vega, and I also think Guile came back.
Mhm.
Then you had like new characters like Juni and Julie, which were Bison dolls. So they played like Cammy.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah.
A charge
okay.
character cameo.
Yeah, well, no, I think one of them was
one of them was a charge character. Yeah, kind of
Yeah,
like the Capra info.
Yeah, and they expanded the roster, but the difference between Alpha 3 and Alpha 2 was really big, because
Enormous.
Alpha 3 really plays like, and I have to say, it plays like an anime fighter, because you can air block. You have 3 different, I would say, grooves that you can choose from.
Mhm.
You can choose like the Alpha 2 groove, so you had like the normal super bar with 1, 2, and 3. So, like Alexin said before, you could like do a level 1 super, or level 2 super, or level 3 super. And you also had like Feism, which was the custom combo groove. So with this one, you could only do custom combos.
So Alpha tried in a certain way. I mean, the Alpha series tried in a way to reinvigorate the series from the standard formula of Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, I would say that Alpha 2 was like, let's make the Street Fighter 2 formula more in depth, or more perfect, I would say.
Mhm.
Or work on that. But Alpha 3 was really experimental.
Mhm, mhm.
Like it was also very fast. You could jump.
You had
And
super
then block.
jumps, right?
You had super jumps, I think, and then so you also had characters. But then you also had some characters like Vega, who could jump, like he always did, you know.
Honestly, I think also I know why they tried to do that, because I mean, back in the days they were like, and that's why that was partially one of the reason I didn't pick up the Alpha series, because it came out around the time where fighting games were getting 3D, like the first
Yeah.
3D fighting games were coming out, and I think most people, I mean me included, were like trying the new games out, you know, the 3D. And I think for me personally, I feel like back then, it was my brain, you know, like putting aside the old Street Fighter games and going for new fighting games. So that's why maybe in the Alpha series they try like new stuff out, just to how do you say it? Just to entice people even more, and then pick up the new games.
It's actually also a reason why I think I didn't paid attention to Street Fighter anymore, because we had Tekken, we had Soul Blade, and I think also Virtua Fighter and all that. And when you're young, you're like, okay, 3D is like new and 2D is old. Even though the 2D games were still great. I mean, Alpha is still a great game, and we also
definitely.
had the King of Fighters that were still 2D, and the Marvel games and all that. But in your teenage mind, it's like
Exactly.
okay, now Soul Calibur looks better.
New is better.
Yeah, like the
because
3D is, or you know, it's something. Also, our friends always said, our friends that didn't play fighting games were like, when we after we kind of got back to the 2D fighting games, they were like saying, "What 2D is that? That's so old. It's not. I don't know. The graphics don't look great, but they kind of missed the charm of those games, because Alpha has great atmosphere and great charm."
Honestly, looking back at it, I would rather pick up now the Alpha series, the 2D fighting games instead of the 3D that back then were like new, because actually I think the 3D fighting games back then when they came out, they went through a very rough time because it was pretty new. The games weren't so polished, and even the graphics were like a bit like was a bit weird. Like the look of certain
It
characters.
didn't age well. It didn't age well at all because
No,
that
no,
was
no.
at the time that was cutting edge. They just did what they could, and it was amazing, even if it looked back because it was 3D.
Exactly.
It was blocks.
But the older 3D titles age way more because they were confident enough with the 3D to actually put art style into the 3D. But early 3D is just 3D. There's no charm in there.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sending you now the best stage in Street Fighter history, which is Street Fighter Alpha 2 Ken stage. And that's what I also liked about those 2D games, or in particular Street Fighter Alpha. This is a stage on Ken's boat, yacht, right? And you have cameo of not every, but many Capcom characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like you see Morrigan, you see Strider, you can see Felicia in the pool.
Is that Captain Commando?
That's
That's
Capcom
Capcom
Commando,
Commando.
yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So this game has so much charm, It's not the only stage that's great, but this one is one of the best stages because stage with human Ishenko on the left, with Lord Raptor in human form
Playing the guitar,
Yeah.
jamming.
Nice. And this was
Nice.
what I always liked about the Alpha series, and of course the story was very interesting in the Alpha series. Like Bison trying to get his new body.
New body.
Yeah. Rose's appearance as best girl.
What I also liked about the Alpha series, especially Alpha 2 and Alpha 3, you also had dramatic battle.
Yo.
And dramatic battle, it's a mode made for
brothers.
Alex and me, made for brothers. Like you play with your brother against the
CPU.
against the
Like simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like player 1 and player 2
play against add-on CPU.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's so cool because you can actually like trap the CPU, and so that one player is behind the CPU and the other one is in front of him. Then and then you just jab him until he gets dizzy. So it's
but the
it's
CPU
really cool.
the CPU did more damage, so you had to watch out for that.
The CPU did more damage and it read your inputs because it's a fucking CPU. So it was actually really, really hard to beat.
Yeah, and I think in the earlier alphas you could only do that with Ryu and Ken, or
I think you had like restrictions, but I think now, especially in the anthology, PS2, you could choose whoever you wanted. So
we had the Vega Rose team.
A Vega Rose team. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, but that mode never came back. Yeah, it came back in Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Kinda.
It was the how was it called? It was not the dramatic battle, but
it's like a free battle where you could like 2v2, yeah. But it was different.
It was different, yeah, but still. So I hope this mode makes a comeback in the near future.
That would be so cool.
But yeah. So Alpha, like design-wise, and also gameplay-wise, I think very nice, very successful series. Even though many people say that Alpha 3 is a bit unbalanced and a bit crazy, especially for competitive play.
Out of all the Alpha games, 3 is the only one I played because it has carry.
And it's 3 that has the hype announcer. Like can anyone stop this fighting machine?
What?
Yeah, it's
it
like
all depends on your skill. Go for broke.
Isn't that Street Fighter 4?
No. Yeah, kinda, but you also have to go for broke in Street Fighter 4? No. But you also
I
have
don't
an
know.
announcer in Street Fighter 4. But I really like the Alpha 3. If you never heard of it, you can listen to it afterwards. It's just nice.
It's probably just so low I didn't hear it.
Maybe. The Street Fighter 4 announce is different.
I don't like him. The Street Fighter 4 is kind of he's adding too much to it.
Yeah, and I think they changed it up in Street Fighter 4. I mean, there was like 2 versions, and then
Yeah.
they changed it. I really enjoyed the first one, and the second one was a bit weird. I don't know. Yeah.
I actually can't remember the first one. I only have the second one in mind. Second one is
Cool.
like the. I always hear fight little cow chosen. There's what? But yeah. Well, we're gonna go through it when we
Of
are
course.
at Street Fighter 4. But yeah, moving on. I would say let's move on to. I think the series that we have the least experience. It's the Street Fighter 3 series, like first generation, new generation, second impact, and third strike. I mean, everybody and their mama know what third strike is. I mean, everyone who saw that Daigo Perry video. But yeah, this one I actually. It took me a long time to like the Street Fighter 3 series because one thing that I really didn't like about that was the roster. The only returning characters were Ryu and Ken in New Generation. Afterwards, they added Akuma and Chun-Li in Third Strike. I don't think they were added in Second Impact, huh?
By the way, there was like a story I heard about it. I don't know if it's true. The first versions of Street Fighter 3, I think they released like a test versions of the game, and I think they had to add Ryu and Ken back into the game because people were complaining about. So I think the first version of the game
That's true.
didn't have any returning characters, not even Ken or Ryu.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They
Yeah,
they really wanted to erase all the characters and just start new. But that's why it's called New Generation, right? But
I think,
yeah, it didn't went well. The backlash was very big.
I think that Alex should have been the main character. I think.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the main character. Yeah,
Yeah, it was supposed to be. Yeah.
Exactly.
and
That's what I heard
yeah,
as well.
they had to add Ryu and Ken. But I think you play Street Fighter 2, you play Alpha. Ryu and Ken are so iconic, and they really tried to get rid of them, kinda. In Street Fighter 3, I mean, I guess maybe they wanted really to go for something new, but I wouldn't have called it Street Fighter then. I would have called it I would just name it differently.
Fight in the streets.
No, kind of.
Fight in the streets.
It's not Street Fighter.
Count's Revenge, what?
Huh?
But yeah, but actually,
that-
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Actually, so I was always reluctant to play. I was like, man, there's no Rose, there's no Bison, there's no and some characters look weird to me, like Necro, 12, Q look kinda. I mean, design-wise, I like Q, but the way he played was like a bit strange. He's just slapping, right? And yeah, some other characters. Remy was a bit kind of looked like a rejected KOF character.
That's what we call him.
Yeah. And
That's rejected.
yeah, but after watching a bit of matches, seeing really what the mechanics are all about, I kind of learned to like the game a bit more. Especially Third Strike, because I didn't play much Second Impact and New Generation, but Third Strike kind of grew on me.
I think it's also considered the best version of Street Fighter 3.
Yeah, I mean, got them parries though, but also gameplay-wise, very kind of slow, or I would say more heavy. The characters feel heavy when they jump, Well, you don't have runs. It's a Street Fighter game, so you have your dashes. And the parry mechanic in Third Strike was really a new mechanic that they introduced that it's kind of hard to do, but it can bring the hype, as you could see with the Daigo parry video. And it's one of the mechanics that I really like in a fighting game, because I like also the guard impact in Soul Calibur, which is kind of parries, right? A bit differently executed, but those are parries.
Yeah, but the parries also brought a new, I would say, a new way of playing Street Fighter, because it changed everything. Just the introduction of the parry system, because now you could jump, and when your opponent had the right decision and to do an anti-air, the guy who jumped could just parry the anti-air.
Yeah, you could parry in the air, yeah.
Yeah, you could parry in the air, or you could just parry when you got the jump in, So I think that a lot of people were like a little bit put off to play Street Fighter 3 because of that, because it wasn't. There are a lot of people that I also talked about. They said, "Oh, it's not really a Street Fighter. It's not like Alpha 2 or Street Fighter 2." So it was like a double-edged sword, because it was a new hype mechanic, but it also changed a lot of the meta of the whole genre.
It's also a mechanic that is very hard on newcomers, because you can see your parry. It's just you have to push forward when you get hit.
So you have to risk
At the,
going forward.
Yeah, at the precise frame, right? And newcomers weren't able to do that. And if you played against someone who knew how to parry, it was over. It was over. So many people just couldn't get the hang of it, and some people just stayed in the alpha series, or just ignored it. But there was a dedicated player base that continued playing, and yeah, it kind of resurfaced, and is one of the most liked, most loved Street Fighters until this day. But yeah.
But we have to say that Third Strike, I would say, I won't say almost killed the franchise, but we had a big hiatus between Third Strike and Street Fighter 4. So
Yeah,
there was clearly a problem.
I think it wasn't that successful. I mean, even though everybody's talking about Street Fighter 3 now, but at that time, it really, especially for the casual audience, it really threw some people off. Even though it looked gorgeous, one of the best sprites I've ever seen for Street Fighter. The best Ken sprite, in my opinion. Is it better than Capcom? Yeah, it's better than Capcom vs SNK. Yeah, the Ken sprite is. I really love the Ken sprite, and also the animations. If you remember Elena's win pose.
She had a lot of frames.
Yeah, so if you can check that out.
What I always liked was like Dudley's corkscrew blow, and then when his cheeks were like so.
Yeah, the animations. Yeah, it was.
He had like big cheeks, because he was like going forward, with a lot of speed. So it was really funny looking.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's beautiful to watch. And it's really what I like about the Street Fighter 3 series. So I think all three iterations had that. It really felt like a street fight, because they really fight in the subway. They fight really in the street, like on the ground, and in an alley, like a dark alley, and all that. If you recall Remy's stage, for instance.
Yeah, that's very pretty.
Yeah, so it really feels like a Street Fighter, and the soundtrack is more like, especially for Third Strike, it's more like on the hip hop, rap tones. So it really feels like a street fight.
Also more jazzy, because also have a lot of saxophone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, some soundtracks. Yeah. So yeah. But do any of you have any personal experience with Street Fighter 3? Because you already had less experience with Alpha. What about 3?
I think for me personally, Alpha. I mean, I didn't play Alpha because of the new 3D games, but I think the 3 games of Street Fighter 3. I think I didn't play them probably because of, I think it was mentioned already, of the characters.
Yeah.
I felt like none of those characters appealed to me. Was like very weird looking. I remember seeing Odo for the first time. I was like, okay, this
What that
one
is.
looks...
I had the
Yeah,
same
exactly.
reaction.
I had the same
Exactly. I
reaction,
was
yeah.
like,
Who
it
that?
was like, yeah, who that? It looked very weird for me, and I think that was really, I mean, very much the period where I put Street Fighter aside, and I think the first time I really saw some footage from Street Fighter 3 was like, yeah, the Daigo parry. So
Yeah. Can't
that was,
can't
yeah,
avoid
yeah.
that. But yeah, it's the characters threw me off. That's really like, oh, no Vega, no Bison. What is 12? Also his pose, it's like just
Why is he called 12? Are there 11 of those?
yeah, it's like, wow, okay.
Where were the first 11? Right.
Yeah. What about you, Sulf? No experience at all?
I didn't play that at all. I didn't even know it existed.
Daigo parry.
I mean, there's no Karin, so.
Yeah, here's the thing though. I did know about the Daigo parry, but I did not realize that Street Fighter 3.
Oh damn. Okay, so way out of line.
At the time, I was using a tool called Stumble Upon, and it was like a community-driven tool where people would post interesting links, and then you click on the button, and then it would take you to one of those links randomly.
Interesting links.
Yeah. But I think you could. I think you could pick some categories you wanted random links from, and other people submitted links and said that's that category or something. And I had the gaming category on, and I was, at some point I clicked on the Stumble Upon button, got to a random page, and the random page was the Daigo parry.
Wow.
Was a video of the Daigo parry. So I started looking, and I saw people, yeah, whatever. And I didn't understand what was amazing about it. But I do remember having watched that. I just didn't know it was Street Fighter 3. Because I didn't know it existed, basically.
Yeah, it flew under the radar here.
Yeah, we can say
Yeah.
that. For me, I didn't care about Street Fighter 3 until much later.
But we
Yeah.
did care about Street Fighter 4.
Yes, so like Street Fighter 3 came out in '97. I think that's for new generation. And we kind of had like 11 years until Street Fighter 4 came. And Street Fighter 4 was like, I remember I don't know how I learned about that, but I knew, okay, they are doing a 3D Street Fighter now. I was like, yeah, Street Fighter, that game we played in the Super Nintendo, you know, or the Alpha Anthology on PS2. And I was really excited about Street Fighter 4, and I bought it day one. And yeah, from that, I think I really I enjoyed vanilla Street Fighter 4, even though it was kind of weird. But I didn't have any competitive knowledge, so I just played it for fun. I played the arcade mode. I played some characters. It's the first time I played Rose, because I didn't play her in Alpha Anthology because she was kind of weird. But yeah, Street Fighter 4 for me, the game that kind of revived the fighting game franchise, even though, yeah, I must say, revived the 2D fighting game franchise, because I think the 3D were still pretty strong. I mean, you had Tekken 5, if I remember correctly. Caliber was still a thing, I think.
So Caliber, yeah, it was.
Yeah, so it was not like many people talk about like the Dark Ages, but I think it's more for 2D fighters.
Oh, there were also King of Fighters titles that were prominent in 2002. Then you also had the Maximum Impact series, 2003, 11. So also in the 2D category, I would say that there were still some fighting games around, but they never got the same notoriety than Street Fighter.
And Street Fighter is Street Fighter, so if they come up with a 3D Street Fighter, everybody is gonna talk about that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think personally, yeah, there were like games around, but Street Fighter 4 launched again like some sort of trend. Like I remember after Street Fighter 4, there were like much more fighting games that came out and tried again. You know, like even old franchises that started again, like bringing out a new game.
Killer Instinct, for it.
Yeah, Kill Instinct. Yeah, Kill Instinct was much later, I think, right?
It was
Mhm.
later,
Like,
but also dead franchise. I mean,
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kill Instinct is definitely a game which deserves more love.
yeah,
True that.
Yeah. No, for me, honestly, Street Fighter, yeah, was like you said, like it revived, like I think my love for Street Fighter in general, and I honestly, for me, it felt like almost playing Street Fighter 2 again, like that.
yeah, the 2D environment, because
Exactly.
because I have played a bit of King of Fighters before that,
Mhm.
King of Fighters 2002 and 2003.
Yeah.
And when I got at the first, I played the Maximum Impact series, so the 3D King of Fighters, and 3D for me always meant 3D like with sidestep and all, and Maximum Impact had sidesteps. Tekken has sidesteps, so Calibur has sidesteps, right? So
Mhm.
seeing Street Fighter 4 in 3D, but still in the 2D environment, like no sidesteps, it's just back and forth, right? It really, yeah, surprised me and made me want to play more 2D games, right? Like the
Yeah, exactly.
it's like the 2.5D, right? So that's what they call.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, so Street Fighter 4, one of the most important fighting games, I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's the point. That's the I think they were showing the world like, look, it also can work with 3D models, but still playing it 2D. I remember back then there was like also for time being you had like all the genres were going 3D, included, for example, Mortal Kombat,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like three games that were playing, several games that were playing in 3D, and they came back to the 2D formula thanks to Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, with
They were like
MK9.
with MK9, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They went for that same idea.
Yeah, 2.5D. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's that, and even though I must say that Street Fighter 4's art style, it's
Weird.
At that time I didn't care much, but it's kind of weird. I mean, I remember Guile looking a bit rough.
Chun-Li too,
Yeah.
though.
Chun-Li
Yeah,
also, but I didn't quite care that much. I mean, I was happy with the game. I liked the characters. I liked the gameplay. Yeah, but seeing it now, it's like, ugh. Even though also even for the later versions like Ultra Street Fighter 3, the Ultra Street Fighter 4, the last version, they still weren't quite fixed. But still,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't complain. Vega look always great, so it's okay.
Yeah, Vega look great. I mean,
With and without mask.
Yeah, I think certain characters were okay. I think that the game looked okay, and the models were like very simple, even the faces and everything.
Mm.
So they tried to do like some sort of how do I say it, like comic look, like kind of,
it was always that cartoony look that
cartoony look,
Alpha
exactly.
that, yeah, from Alpha more. Third Strike was a bit more, can you say, a bit more mature, I would say, but yeah, Street Fighter 4 was more cartoony, more goofy looking. Even when
Yeah,
they got
exactly.
when they got hit, like their eyes popped out, they threw out their tongue, and you could see really goofy expressions. So it was really
Yeah, it also had
special.
with the Shin Shoryuken from Ryu, they got like a big chin.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
got hit,
exactly.
yeah. But only the male characters, the female characters, they were kind of a bit
But they were
toned
like
down.
perfect.
They were toned down, but yeah, like the big chin, they got the
But I
big chin.
I think that's partially why the game looked as it was, because I think that it was like the first time in a 3D game that you were like seeing people, characters having like a reaction on hit.
Mm-hmm.
They were like being hit, and you could see actually the expression on their faces. So that's why they couldn't go with much more detailed graphics, because
Yeah, and
back then it wasn't
Cap-
possible.
Capcom always did that, because if you look at Darkstalkers, when they get
Mhm.
hit, you have some goofy expressions, but they kind of worked in 2D. But in
Mhm.
3D, it's I think it's harder to pull
Yeah, I
off.
think so. Yeah.
Especially in a cartoony way, yeah.
Yeah, especially, yeah. So it was inevitable that some characters look really wonky. But nonetheless, I think a very successful Street Fighter. It introduced us to new mechanics like focus attacks. I love that.
Mhm.
And it's kind of sparked a revival of the of the whole fighting game community. I mean, after that, you had tournaments, you had people, YouTubers showing tech, showing tournaments, showing what the FGC is all about. That's why that's kind of how I came to know the global fighting game community through fighting games, through especially Maximilian's channel.
Mhm.
And yeah, so great impact of that of that game. That's for sure.
Mhm.
I did buy it.
There was no
I
carry.
looked up my Steam transaction history. Actually, I bought it 6 months after release.
How many?
Oh, okay.
6 months.
6 months after release?
Yeah.
And you thought it was
And
Street Fighter 2?
No, not even that. But I just remember having played Street Fighter 2 and was like, oh, okay, new Street Fighter. Let's see how it looks like. So I started playing it. I actually remember enjoying it. I even tried, and I want to emphasize tried, playing online.
Mhm.
And then I played Sakura, and the opponents, they were kind of obnoxious. Like the opponents, they were just not happy winning. They were like showing off, like
Oh
how
my
easy it
God.
was to win.
All the
And I
early
stopped.
days, they were rough.
And I stopped playing online basically.
Cloud chases.
Yeah.
So basically, I would have probably played fighting games earlier if it weren't for that experience. Because I was trying to get into the online gameplay, because I played Halo online before that,
Mhm.
and Team Fortress.
Mhm.
I think Team Fortress was already out by then. And I remember being somewhat competent in the games I play online. So I thought, maybe we can do that as well with Street Fighter. And after that experience, I just stopped playing. I played against. I kept playing against CPU basically.
But I had the same feeling when, because I never played fighting games online. I always played with my brother or against the CPU.
Mhm.
But with Street Fighter 4, and especially with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, because I could play with my brother against some people, um, it kind of was difficult to get into it because of the fear of getting bodied, because you say, oh, they know much more than you. What should I
Exactly.
do?
Exactly.
But what helped me was again the Maximilian videos. Though it was that was the only video that I watched for fighting games for a long time, and he was explaining what the cross up is, what the melee is, and slowly but surely I learned those terms, and I also learned to implement those terms. And
Mhm.
I saw how much in depth a fighting game can get, especially a 2D fighting game. And after I overcome that fear of going online, yeah, it just
So
started from there. Right?
So that was your Maximilian. Was like my Core gaming later on.
Yeah, kinda. And also, what really helped was seeing Evo for the first time. I had no idea that Evo existed, and I saw Luffy winning with Rose. So a French guy going to America, winning with my character. Very convincing. I always have the final in front of me. Bonchan versus Luffy, Sagat versus Rose. and I was really cheering him on, and from that time on I was like, wow, that's a nice community. I want to be part of that.
Mm.
And yeah, so with Street Fighter 4, it started all from there. For me, especially competitive wise, because I always played before that. I always played casually. I didn't care much more about the mechanics. I didn't use any of the mechanics in KOF. I didn't even hop. I just jumped.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Also,
and- yeah.
also for me, it's the first time I actually wanted to play Vega correctly, because I could never do the pretzel move for his super.
You could
and
never
for-
play charge characters. You
the
had
charge card
difficulties.
also, yeah, and I was like, no, now I have the chance to play Vega. I have to learn charge characters. I have to learn the pretzel move. And the first time I got his super out, or his and his ultra, because both were pretzel moves, I was super happy.
Yeah. So only fond memories of
Yeah, definitely.
Street Fighter 4.
For me personally, on a side note, I mean, for one, it had like, I mean, I was impressed by the size of the roster of Street Fighter 4. It was
Mhm.
like already big, and by the time Super Street Fighter 4 came out, I mean, it was like again like they're putting so much character even on top of it,
Mhm.
and it introduced me as well like to certain characters, you know, that other people knew from other versions of, I mean, of previous versions of Street Fighter. Like for example, I mean, in the Alpha series and in Street Fighter 3, I mean, there were characters in Street Fighter 4 that I
Mhm,
haven't
mhm.
seen before, so I was like actually pleasantly surprised, you know, to know those, you know.
Yeah, it was also like, who is that? Who is
Yeah, exactly.
Makoto? Is she new? No, she's not new. She's from what? From Street Fighter 3?
Yeah,
Was there
exactly.
Street Fighter 3? That's the first time I heard about Street Fighter 3. Or
Who's DJ?
who's DJ? Okay, or Turbo.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I didn't have that version, right? You know, so yeah, it was kind of also rediscovering, rediscovering of the whole franchise. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I personally love Dudley. Dudley was really, really. I was impressed by it. I was like,
Let's
wow,
fight like gentlemen.
yeah, like an actual boxer that I actually appreciate. Nice, because I always had like trouble playing with charge characters. And Dudley was like a nice addition, which
Oh, he's all
helped
about
me, like,
motions.
exactly.
That's why I prefer Balrog now.
He prefers
Because now I can play charge characters.
But yeah,
I
all in all,
I hate touch characters.
but yeah, all in all, great game. Definitely one of my favorites. And then we come to the last edition, the last game of the franchise until now, which is Street Fighter 5. And I remember when it first got announced, I was super hyped. Of course, I had the fear of will Rose make it in? That which was a fear that kinda happened, but kinda I say. But I really was waiting for every demo, for every beta that they put out. I still remember we had a beta like in Christmas, so we were actually baking Christmas cookies, and and simultaneously we were playing the beta. And yeah, once it came out, it was like day one buy. Even though it had a very rough release. But yeah, you know, it introduced us to V trigger, so every character was very unique. It's kind of like the traits in Injustice. Was it what? How was it called? The traits in Injustice? Like in Injustice, every character had something special for himself. Like Hawkgirl could
Oh yeah, right.
she could fly, and yeah, they had that special button, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
and you also had that now in Street Fighter 5. Like, okay, well, Bison can teleport now. Vega throws a rose and can extend his combos. That was yeah, but yeah, he's a motion character. Yeah, so it was really it was really innovating in a way. Everybody was waiting for that game, because every time a new Street Fighter comes out, it's like an earthquake. You know, everybody's talking. It's kind of like Mortal Kombat. It's the same. When a new Mortal Kombat comes out, everybody's talking about that. Tekken also. It's one of the main franchises. And yeah, I was excited. I was excited. How about y'all?
I noticed the release of Street Fighter V, but I didn't go into it. I didn't care.
You weren't hooked.
I wasn't playing fighting games at that point. My experience with fighting games was like you go online. No, you mash a lot, and when you go online, people just backdash into the corner, jump over you, and backdash into the other corner, and make you chase you, just to show how much better they are. That was my experience with fighting games so far. So mashing and
Bullying.
that sort of behavior. So I didn't care for it. The time where I started to care was when I was watching a Core A gaming video
Mm.
about mind games and taunts, the effect of taunts. I was like, okay, so maybe there's more to it than just mashing buttons. So then I was like, okay, what game do I pick then if I want to try this out again? And Street Fighter 5. Like Street Fighter, I played Street Fighter as a kid. I tried Street Fighter 4, so why not Street Fighter 5 then? And then I bought Street Fighter 5. It was in the midst of season 3 where I joined, and that's where I started playing fighting games for real.
You were actually playing Dead or Alive before, right?
I was playing Dead or Alive, but even then it was more mashing.
Okay.
And I played Dead or Alive 5 with a friend from the Americas.
Shoutouts.
I still talk with him sometimes in Final Fantasy 14 because that's how we actually got to talk about it and started playing. But yeah, I didn't actually think about my decisions in Dead or Alive 5 as much as I did in Street Fighter 5. That's where I really started to dig into decision making, how the opponent feels, how that makes him react in certain ways, and all that started with Street Fighter 5.
It wasn't about mashing after all.
That's what I learned. It wasn't about mashing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like with Sulfura, it started with Street Fighter 5, and with Alex and me, it was with Street Fighter 4. So we have kind of the same experience. You watched a video of a dude, and then you wanted to play.
How about you, Actorus? What was your experience? Did you buy it day one or?
I did buy it day one. I even had like the special edition, which I think only had like a metal casing or something.
Mhm.
And I think Street Fighter 5. I played it at the beginning like a few times, and I think I forgot about it like maybe a few years. And then with the newer versions which came out, like the arcade edition and stuff, and I think I picked it up again. I think it was all about like Street Fighter 4. I played Street Fighter 4 very casually with friends, like all the time. And then I think at a certain time we lost interest in it and came back for it like like a few years ago for Street Fighter 5. Then and I think at that time it was also like a very different game, and I was happy that it got like revived or something, because at the beginning it's like I felt like kind of was like very cheap. I was a bit disappointed with the game because it didn't have what I was expecting actually.
Yeah, I see what you mean, because I liked the game at first. I liked the
Mhm,
V-trigger system and everything. I still hated the V-reversal. I was never a fan of V-reversal.
Mhm.
But I always wanted. I was waiting for a big change in season 2 and season 3 that it never came, and I was like, it's kind of stale. It's kind of unbalanced also, because if you have a good V-trigger, you're automatically one of the best characters. Some characters had questionable V-triggers, also the V skills, and yeah. So I was waiting for something to change that, and it never came. But now with season, I think season 4. From season 4 onwards, I think they really know what to do now with the game, and the last characters that they implemented, like also Seth and Gil, you see that they know how to experiment and know how to make fun characters now.
Yeah, exactly.
And also now with the new characters from season 5, Dan and Rose. I mean, I have fun with Rose. I love her gameplay, even though they ditched the reflect. I still miss those. Rest in peace. But yeah, now I think they really got the groove on, and it's more enjoyable. I also like how is it called? V shift. The V shift mechanics, which allows you to evade certain moves. Because my problem was always the lack of defensive mechanics. Because once you are in the corner, it kind of gets it kind of is a guessing game now. Like, okay, is he going to throw me? Is he going for a meaty? Is he going to shimmy? And you have no options rather than having the good guess and block and then push at the right time. Yeah, so V shift. Even though I don't use V shift, but I think V shift added also a bit to that lack of defensive mechanics.
Mm.
And nowadays it's one of the most enjoyable fighting games. I also like that shift now because when Ono left, I think the new guys that are in charge, I don't know their names, I'm sorry, but they communicate more now, and they really add the characters that fans really want. They add Rose, they add Dan, they add Akira from rival schools, and then apparently we get a rival school stage, which is enormous for me because rival school is one of my favorite games of all time, and kind of Capcom showed us that they still know that this franchise exists. Like, we know some people like rival schools. Here you have Akira, and Akira is fitting in that universe like it's insane.
Like perfectly, yeah.
It's perfectly, yeah. It fits perfectly.
It looks like a Street Fighter. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, she looks like a Street Fighter, and so I really like now that. So I had some ups and downs with that game, some love-hate relationship. But now I'm at the state where I'm saying, okay, now it's a good game now. I enjoy it.
Unless Sufra puts you in the corner.
Yeah, then I hate it again.
Then the game is unfair.
No, I think that there was a time where I really didn't care about the game. I was like, there was also a time where we didn't do any tournaments because I think the whole fighting game community was, also in our case, the Luxembourg fighting community, wasn't really feeling. Was it season 3, I believe?
It was season 2.
Season 2 or season 3?
Season
One
2.
of those. It was that time. I don't know, because season 2, I think Barrock came in season 2, right?
I think so, yeah.
Barrock was season 2. And yeah, so it was afterwards. It was season 3. It was the arcade version. But yeah. But now I'm happy.
Yeah,
No, they did pull this around. I mean, they turned this around. Sorry, and yeah, I mean, revived the game, which was actually at the beginning had a hard time.
Yeah. It was kind of it felt rushed though.
Yeah, exactly.
It felt rushed. That was a bit of a problem.
But I think it was also a very important game from the Luxembourg FGC because it's the game where we discovered there is actually an FGC in Luxembourg.
Yeah. So like with Street Fighter 4, my brother and I we got serious with fighting games, but we always kind of thought we were like the only ones in Luxembourg that really play. Maybe there are some, but you know, we are too far away. There's no way we will get a fighting game community like the global fighting game community, like the Americans, like the French, you know. So we were we felt alone on that regard because also all of our friends just didn't care about fighting games. I mean, when they came over, we played. They were like really uninterested.
You freaks!
Yeah, so we kind of
you can do fireballs. You freak!
Yeah, so we kind of gave up. We were like, okay, I'm gonna just play online and with my brother, and that's it. But once Street Fighter 5 was released, that was the first time that we heard about the gaming cafe, and there was a YouTube video from a tournament, and we were like, oh, there are Luxembourgers who actually play, who actually know what a fireball is, who actually know what Street Fighter is who actually know what fighting games is, right? And yeah, so from there we went to Kopfstadt, we went to the gaming cafe, and the rest is history. So I think that Street Fighter 5 was really also a big factor for our FGC because the Luxembourg FGC is pretty young. We didn't start with Street Fighter 4. It's really with Street Fighter 5 that we took off, and yeah, I think from there on out we just grew and grew and grew. Built some communities. We also extended to other fighting games, Tekken and the SNK games mostly. And yeah, so a very important game also for us personally. That's
Also
yeah.
It's also the time where we I would say knew about Sulf and Alex, or Actarus, I would say.
Yeah, Actarus came a bit late though.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Where were you all that time?
Man, I wish I would have been there earlier. Believe me.
It's okay.
And Sulfura, yeah, you came like after season 3 or something like that.
I came during season.
During season 3, yeah.
Hawk was the newest character. So
Yeah, I remember you.
I came in, and I have never played a human opponent sitting next to me since Street Fighter 2 days.
Damn.
So and that day was like the Street Fighter 30th anniversary tournament.
Yeah, oh, one of the best tournaments we ever did.
And I remember I was blocking a cross up Tatsu.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna duck. He's gonna go over me, and then I blocked the other way because I knew I had to block the other way because I played against CPU, and CPU does wanky shit sometimes.
That was on Alpha 2, right?
That was an Alpha 2, yeah.
And the moment I saw that, I was like, okay, he knows about fighting games. he's not a filthy casual. I mean, he knows what's up. I even put that in the highlight videos.
I didn't think it was a big deal at the time.
Oh, it was a big deal for me.
It was nice.
Yeah, and from that, I mean, our competitive scene grew. So we have to thank Street Fighter 5 for all those great moments. I mean, there's also Tekken and King of Fighters and Guilty Gear, and we also have good moments with that, but it wouldn't have been possible with Street Fighter 5.
So Dragon Ball, we have a lot of Dragon Ball film.
Also Dragon Ball, yes. Of course. But again, Street Fighter 5 it started all from there. And also globally, I mean, Capcom Pro 2, and also the other fighting games also imitated now Capcom with the Tekken World Tour, with the SNK World Tour, with the Arc Systems World Tour. So yeah, Street Fighter 5 really the pioneers of competitive fighting game like we know now.
Like we know and love.
Yeah, mostly because also like this year-long support for the game. I mean, back then probably the game wasn't supported that long over those long years, and
yeah, it's like when Tekken came out, when King of Fighters came out, I wasn't sure if they would go with seasons like Street Fighter. I was like, let's hope we get some DLC characters. Let's hope we get some balance changes. And I wasn't really feeling it for King of Fighters, because King of Fighters they came kind of from the dead with 14, and I didn't expect them to support that game, but they did with 2 DLC packs. For King of Fighters, and Tekken came also with seasons. So yeah, I mean, very important game on that regard. So to conclude all that, I mean, I wanted to talk about some personal favorites. I mean, when we were talking about the franchises, I kind of gave some hints which one are my favorites, but I wanted just to go through y'all and ask if also what are your favorites, and maybe also if you want to say it, what's the least favorite Street Fighter. But yeah, who wants to start?
I'm gonna start then. The obvious one for me to like is Street Fighter 5 because that's the one I started with, and that's
special
the one
place in your
I'm
heart.
most. Yeah, and also it's also the one I'm most competent in and understand the most of. So it kind of helps along, I guess. Then I would say Alpha, because even if I don't play Alpha, I kind of can get into it really fast.
Okay. Yeah, when we played,
it's easy to transition into Alpha.
yeah.
I mean, I still get annoyed because Karine in Alpha doesn't do the things she does in Street Fighter 5, but
She ain't got no V-trigger, that's for sure.
well, her V-trigger isn't very good in 5 either. So, but it works. If you do a bit of work, it works. Street Fighter 2, though, I loved it as a kid, but if I try playing it now, the throws, man, the throws kill it.
Oh yeah.
The throws are
the throw
so
loops.
bad.
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
Yeah. I don't enjoy playing nearly as much now that I actually play fighting games than I did when I didn't know how fighting games worked.
I see. I mean, it's understandable. How about you, Actorus? Or are you finished so far? Yeah.
I think the other ones I didn't play, so.
Okay. Actorus.
Yeah, for me, I think there are not that many Street Fighter games I really played like for a long period. I mean, I started with Street Fighter 2, so I mean that's games kind of stays in my memories as one of my favorites. But then I think I started like really playing for a longer period of time with Street Fighter 4, but still casually. So, but I mean, I cherish that game still. Sometimes from time to time, I still pop it in just to play a bit. And but for the most part, yeah, Street Fighter 5 was like the game I took more seriously, which I enjoy most of the time. So yeah, it would be definitely Street Fighter 5 would definitely be my favorites of all.
Okay, how about you, Rod?
I mean, you know the answer. You're my brother.
Yeah, but I mean,
No,
the audience doesn't know.
I have to say that it has to be Street Fighter 4 because it's a Street Fighter. It's like the same reason as Sulfura. It's the Street Fighter that where I learned how to implement those terms that I heard, like cross up, midis, and it's also the first time I really competitively played fighting game against other people, not only against you. So Street Fighter 4 definitely, I think it's my favorite. And then I would say it has to be Street Fighter Alpha 2, because it's for me it's a more perfect Street Fighter 2. So it's like Street Fighter 2, but it's just more in depth, and it's fast. I like the art style. I like everything in this game. So Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter Alpha 2. I have to give some shoutouts to Street Fighter 5 though, because I really like. I would say I don't like the game that much compared to Street Fighter 4 and Alpha 2, but I really like to play Vega. They did a really good job with Vega. It's really fun to play. So I can give props to that.
It shows because you're annoying.
I mean, yeah. People get intoxicated by my beauty, you know.
Easily.
Oh Lord. and the podcast right now.
No, I have to say my favorite. So my favorite, it's a tough one.
We don't care.
Oh. It's a tough one because I like Street Fighter 4. It's the game where I finally understood how fighting games work. Yeah, but Alpha 2 has a really special place in my heart because I'm a sucker for atmosphere, for references in stages and all that. So I say it's a tie between Street Fighter 4 and Alpha 2, really, because it's kind of unfair to say yes, Street Fighter 4 because I played it more than Alpha 2. But once I really got into Alpha 2, I really loved the game. So yeah, it's between those two. I really can't decide. I mean, those are my two favorites. And if I would say if I would nominate the least favorite, well, of course it's Street Fighter 1, but I mean I never played it there, so. But 2 is like, I don't know, man. It didn't age well in my opinion. So I know it's the big Street Fighter 2, everyone likes it, and it's the grandfather of all fighting games. But if someone tells me, oh, let's play some Street Fighter 2, I'm like, no, I really don't feel it. I really don't like playing it. It's not only because of the throws. It's just like the whole feeling of the game is kind of, as I said, it didn't age well. It really feels outdated.
I have to say that for me, Street Fighter 2 is also my least favorite. I still like to play it, especially Vega.
I'll play it if someone asks me, but I don't ask someone to play Street Fighter 2.
If you have to choose, you will choose other games.
So yeah, and Street Fighter 5, now that Rose is in it, I'm all in.
Now that Rose is in it, it's actually a great game.
Yeah, but I had problems because there was a time where I always played Bison, and I started Urien a bit. But after for Bison, after like season 2, I was like, wow, I really didn't enjoy playing him. And Urien I tried, but I never got hooked. And yeah, it was kind of, I was really waiting for a character like Rose. And I got it.
So
and I got it a bit late, but yeah, better late than never. What? It's like?
So it's like Hibiki for me in
It's
Sam
like,
Show.
yeah, kinda. It's like Hibiki for you in Sam Show. That's true. So characters are very important. So yeah. Yeah. So to finish it off, we talked about every series or every Street Fighter game, or not every single one, but yeah, the main games. And my last question is, for a potential Street Fighter 6, what are your expectations? It can be story-wise, it can be mechanic-wise, it can be everything, or character-wise. So what are you looking forward to for Street Fighter 6?
Put Vega in it, and I'll play.
Only Vega?
Now I am with the story. It depends on what they want to do, especially with the Rose ending. I don't know if they go for a reboot or not, but if they continue the story, I highly doubt that Shadow Lu is gonna make an appearance. So I highly doubt that Vega is in. But if they don't put Vega, I would like to have a return of Adon, because he was my main in Alpha 2, or my main in Street Fighter 3, which is Yang. I don't want his brother though. You can put his brother in, but
I don't want them to put Yang and Yoon like Nadeshko and Mika. I really want them to be two separate characters.
Yes.
I really hope they don't go with that route. I mean, Nadeshko was never a fleshed out character, but you know.
Yeah.
I hope Yang makes it, because I always think that Yoon is more popular because of Genneji.
Yeah, but otherwise, mechanics-wise, I personally don't care, because they can continue with something similar like V-Trigger, or do another whole mechanic. For me, it's okay.
I don't think they're gonna go with V-Trigger, because the V-Trigger thing is all about that 5, you know, the Roman 5 V-Trigger. That's why they went for V-Trigger. I think they could go with specific character traits or something like that. But yeah, so mechanic-wise, I like to be surprised. I really don't have any personal preferences.
I just want my character to be in the game.
Maybe bring parries back, real parries, to get a bit of Street Fighter 3 vibes, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, definitely.
For the characters.
What do you mean? I already have parries.
Yeah, but for everyone, universal parries. And
can do forever.
but if they go with a reboot, if they follow the Rose ending, I think they could go and flesh out a bit more the alpha mechanics, like alpha counters, custom combos, adding those.
Mm.
But a bit different, you know, just making it a bit modernize it, something like that. And yeah, so if they go with the reboot, I want the characters from Alpha, Rose especially. But if they continue with the storyline, I think it's gonna be like the Third Strike or the Street Fighter 3 storyline. I don't see many of the older characters coming back.
It depends what they're doing.
It depends what they want to do with the story. Maybe some alpha characters can make it.
I mean, Birdie made it in 5.
Yeah, yeah.
True.
So they could. Yeah, they could, but they could also add Rose in Street Fighter 3 and following the storyline like she's battling Gil now instead of Bison, because she's still one of the most powerful female characters, like that always knows which kind of evil lurks in the shadows. So I mean, she can always be a part of that. But Shadaloo, if they follow the storyline, I think Shadaloo is gone for the moment. I mean, if they come back, it's gonna be Street Fighter 7. Or maybe they go with the Bison revival in Street Fighter 6. We have the clash of Shadaloo and the Illuminati, is it called? The Gil, yeah. Maybe.
Because they could also go with the time travel scenario, you know, that you start off in the say that in the future, and then you go back to the past.
Maybe. What about art style? Because I know that Capcom is going with the realistic tone with Resident Evil and Devil May Cry, which fits the Resident Evil and Devil May Cry world.
Definitely.
But I don't want to see realistic Ryu, realistic Chun-Li. I really want them to stick to a more stylized art style.
Yeah, honestly, I think for the Resident Evil, like you said, for the Resident Evil and the new Devil May Cry was like amazing. I think how it looked and how it played and everything. But I was thinking like for Street Fighter 6, what if they would go like for a more cel shading look? You know, like similar to Arc System Works, like they do their games. Like that could be actually a direction they could go.
I think not exactly like Arc Systems, but yeah, cel
No,
shading.
not yeah, not exactly, but some kind of. I mean, I think it would fit the Street Fighter style.
Oh yeah, something like Sam Show also.
Yeah, for example, exactly.
And yeah, because Street Fighter 5's art style, it's quite hit or miss in my opinion. You have characters that look great, you have characters that look awful. Shoutouts to Ken, but
the banana hair.
Yeah, and so yeah, I hope something like, you know, Monster Hunter has some art style that could work with
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter, yeah. Maybe with more cel shading in it, but you know, a bit more. I also want that's a personal preference. I want them to look a bit more thinner. I don't like the bulky characters, but yeah, but Street Fighter was always more like on the bulky side. Like they always had big feet, big fists.
The other thing I think, like character-wise, but that's maybe just a personal preference. I would love to see Abel from Street Fighter 4 again. I think honestly that was like a character which really surprised me back in Street Fighter 4, and I was maining him at that time. So yeah, I would love to see him again. That
Yeah,
would
some
be
returning characters like Abel and Sea Viper, Makoto. I also want Makoto back because I always thought Makoto would be great for Street Fighter 5 because she always hits hard and she could yeah, crush counter. But there is still a last character reveal, but I don't think that the last character reveal for Street Fighter 5 is going to be a returning Street Fighter character. I'm pretty convinced. Oh, if it's a returning Street Fighter character, it's gotta be something like a boss character or Violent Ken or something like that. But I'm convinced that Well, I hope it's an SNK character because that gives me hope for a Capcom vs SNK 3. But that's me.
Actually, what I want for Street Fighter 6 is Capcom vs SNK 3.
Don't play with my heart, man. Don't play with my heart. Don't play with my heart because this is true love I'm making. What?
Oh,
Okay. Any other wishes for Street Fighter 6?
They should announce it.
They should announce.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to, but because the last season was unexpected, so they take their time, which is a good thing. I always like when developers take their time because Street Fighter 5 was rushed. Definitely. So yeah, take their time. We have a nice season 5. I mean, I am enjoying it. I can't wait for 1 or 2 years more. No problem. We also have other fighting games coming out. We got Guilty Gear right around the corner. We got King of Fighters 15. So we can wait. We can wait. Okay, so if there's nothing more to add, I think we can wrap this podcast up. So yeah, want to say something?
It was a nice love letter to one of our favorite franchises, which is Street Fighter.
Yeah, I mean we can do those sort of podcasts for other franchises, maybe with some guest appearances. We got Yuri Yagami from no, but yeah, with some guest appearances from some franchise, from experts from a certain franchise. I really enjoyed talking a bit about the grandfather of fighting games. I mean, Street Fighter has always a special place in my heart, even though I had some hate-love relationship with Street Fighter 5, but it's still one of the greatest fighting game franchises that has ever existed, in my opinion. In terms of characters, in terms of mechanics, in terms of just legacy and everything that comes with it. So with that being said, I think we'll see you on the next podcast with another franchise. Maybe you can give us some suggestions in the comments, but we also have already our picks.
Yeah,
But
you
who
also
knows?
can tell us which is your favorite Street Fighter, and also why.
What makes Street Fighter so special for you? What are your personal experiences with Street Fighter? It's always nice to hear.
So until next time.
Until next time, we'll see you the next podcast. Bye.
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 Bye bye.